What the bloody...
Oh,
So,
fantastic.
what are you doing there? You got it out there. Is he filming?
Yeah, we're filming. There's the red light over there.
So look, when North Sea oil was at its best, it was bringing in 4,000 million account every 6 months.
Wow.
And it was bringing in less than what the tourists were coming into Britain. And the tourists were asked en masse, 4,000 billion came into the country at one point. 400 billion came into the country at one point. And they would ask the tourists why they came to Britain. And it's become, because it's theatre, it's museums, it's art galleries. We go to the Royal Shakespeare Company, Stratford Lane. We go to the National Theatre. All the museums. I mean, and they visit the kind of famous British Museum, which is kind of the most wonderful library in the world. And our education. I mean, as I said, I used to bring my mother-in-law here, who was deaf and dumb, and it was her temple. And it's the kind of act of Philistines to close down libraries.
Part of history.
It is, I mean, it's atavistic nonsense. I mean, it is, what are they talking about? Education, education, education? What do they mean? They're lying. Because this is education. This is the basis of a village. The basis of our country is our library, it's the knowledge. It's the basis of our schooling. It backs up schooling. It inspires schooling.
Oh, it does.
You start to cut this. I mean, I am the son of a coal miner.
Yeah.
And at the moment, I haven't engineered this, but in 2 weeks' time, they're having a huge election. Prince Charles has given up being Chancellor of Cambridge University, this prestigious position. And suddenly all the students in Cambridge suddenly say, we actually want that madman, Brian Blessed,
Yes.
to be our Chancellor, which is unheard of, a coal miner's son. And therefore, and they said to me at Cambridge, all the students said there, thousands of them, Brian, what do you want to see when you first get here? I said, well, I want to kind of help train your rowing team and all that, and get your theatres together, and this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
But I want to devour your library, because they have a library at Cambridge University that defies description. And I'm going to have access to it. So it looks like I might be Chancellor, you know, and I'm going to be made Yorkshireman of the Year, which is great.
Wow.
And because of my work in Yorkshire,
Cambridge.
on the Dales, because I'm president of the National Park and president of Yorkshire Wildlife, but I'm also president of all the libraries in Yorkshire.
Wow.
So therefore, for me, this is the basis and soul of our education. It's no saying, it's no saying I can get it on a machine and read it. Because it's electrical, it's not organic, you know, it's cutting you off from people. But a book is to be treasured, and then you meet a great author. Or you meet Maggie Drabble, or you meet somebody, the equivalent of Emily Bronte, and you meet them, and you treasure it. I mean, there are books in London at some of the great book sales, from the kind of Everest climbers and signed copies of Dickens and Potter and all this, that and the other. And it is and books signed by Emily and Charlotte Bronte. And they had to be treasured. And it's the basis of what books are. When I was at school, I mean, our teachers, one of the big things about books as well is, and I haven't asked a question yet, one of the basis of things about books at school was that we had marvellous teachers, and they were brilliant actors when I was in South Yorkshire, and they would read you a story from a book, which made you want to read the book. And suddenly it was the footprint of a giant hound. And it was the hound of the Baskervilles. You know what I mean? And then the bell on Tungstone Boathouse was heard ringing at an unaccustomed hour. The Black Arrow. Wonderful. The man has 6 black arrows to kill 6 villains in the book. Oh, wonderful. We used to be intoxicated by brilliant readers. You suddenly get these marvellous. And of course our teachers, in the middle of a maths lesson, would start acting, doing the most wonderful speeches from Shakespeare, and make them very, very exciting. And I've actually just done, I think it's in 2 or 3 weeks' time, Planet Word of Stephen Fry. The entire half hour is me and Stephen Fry together, in which I say, look, let's look at boring Shakespeare. And he said, yes, Brian, yes, Brian, yes, Brian. I said, take the most boring. I said, if you can get Shakespeare right, there's nothing more real. You really think that, Brian? Yes, I said. Let's take the most boring speech of all. To be or not to be. I mean, so I said, I promise you, I will make it exciting for you. And they were at the Criterion Theatre, BBC camera crews. I'll make it very exciting for you, and I'll do it for you now. And I suddenly said, are you ready to say action? He said, action. And I took out a Magnum that Clint Eastwood has. Great big gun. And I went, and half the ceiling fell down. And then I put it to my head and said, to be or not to be. Click, click, click. Oh, God, Brian, oh, no. It's all right, they're blanks. We put plaster on the ceiling. Came to life, didn't it? That said Stephen, came to life. I said, well, that's what that speech is all about. I said, so Shakespeare can come to, in the end, I had Stephen Fry rolling about the stage doing a main speech from Hamlet. And he was rolling around the stage and falling off the stage and roaring with laughter. I said, now, your Hamlet is coming to life. But it's from books. Shakespeare, I mean, our vocabulary is 200 words, 300 words. This is what libraries are about. It's about vocabulary as well. I mean, George Bernard Shaw was 6,000 words. Chekhov was 5,000 words. And what was Shakespeare? 15,700 words. Cool! With it, these are the expressions of Shakespeare. We haven't 15,700 word vocabulary. We have a vocabulary of 300 words. He invented our language, and that's in books. So you know, I mean, and so that is, I mean, you can get prints of the folios, the second and third and first folios. Stratford, you can buy them. And so libraries for me are a place of adventure. If we close them, it is asinine. It shows lack of leadership, lack of understanding, because art is everything. Art is everything. Whether you know, in carpentry or anything else, and so, and art. This is where art begins, in a library. I'm being quite noisy now, but in the quiet of a library and perusing and taking advice. I think more education is done in libraries than any other place, more than schools, because it's in the quiet of the library, and you discover a book. And you discover a book and you just inherit it for a while. So I think that libraries, I cannot believe that a government would want to cut art. Like, education, education, education. Is this what they say? They're lying. They're lying. You know, I've been meeting the politicians recently because I say this elephant, Annie that was beaten up. I went to number 10 Downing Street and got Annie released from the circus, from the cruelty, and she's now in 400 acres. I've got, you know, so, I mean, I'm dealing with politicians all the time. So I've said to Cameron, and I've said to them all, you cannot.
Okay, can we just stop?
You cannot.
Can we just, has it gone wrong? Did it?
No, there was literally like 4 seconds left.
Oh right, okay. It only does it 7 minutes. But anyway, can we stop?
But I mean, I've talked to Cameron about it. He said he will look into it. Look into what? Look into what? I mean, is it? Wait till the Truna gone. Look into what? I mean, look into a yak's ass. What? Look into what? You know, they're all looking into things, aren't they? What are you talking about? We're going to look into it. Oh, get out. Look in. You're going to have 10 weeks of gin and tonics and do bugger all. So don't give me that. And, all right, Brent. I said, do something about it. I said, because if you kill libraries, you create an artistic death, and you make people lonely, and lots of old age pensioners who take their books. They look forward to meeting the librarian. They look forward to a new book, and they look forward to the conversations, and they'll start to die. I'm so incensed about the whole thing. Say Bagshot Library.
Yes.
Yeah, was it?
Nick. Oh, there we
Have you
go.
got that film going?
Yeah.
Yes, we're going. There it is.
Look at that! Save Bagshot Library!
Get a photo, Max.
Save it!
Marvellous.
We'll win out. We'll win out in the end. We'll win. We've got to.
Thank you.
We've got to.